These are distressing images. Desperate families in Syria's grim Sednaya military prison, a name, a place that was shorthand for the industrial-scale brutality of the authoritarian Assad family. These are distressing images, and they went viral last year after Syrian rebels threw open prisons across the country as they brought an end to Assadist rule. These are distressing images, and one of them is not from Sednaya. It's not even from Syria.
We have seen a lot of AI-generated images and fake images, and even images that were from the Vietnam Museum of War that were published online as images from Sednaya. You know, before December, Sednaya for so many Syrians was this dark topic that we don't know much about. And then this very dark, secretive space became open to the public. There was lots of confusion around, what people were seeing. And this was particularly the case in the early days, just after Assad had fled and these rebel groups had entered into Damascus. There was a stream of dis and misinformation.
Syrians are particularly vulnerable to bad information. And considering what the country and its people have endured since independence from French rule in 1946, it's not surprising. After the declaration of the Syrian Republic, there was more than 15 years of political upheaval, coups, military rule, and then a hard turn in the early 1960s when the Ba'ath Party, led by members of Syria's minority Alawite Muslim community, established a political monopoly that lasted right up until December 2024. The dictatorship of General and then President Hafez al-Assad saw the transformation of Syria into a totalitarian police state. In the 3 decades of his rule, Syrians saw the imposition of mass surveillance, the pitting of the country's various communities, Sunni Muslim, Christian, Druze, Shia Muslim, and the Kurds against one another. The state dominated all communication and media. The intelligence agencies, known as the Mukhabarat, terrorized citizens, especially critics. There were disappearances, torture, extrajudicial killings of political opponents, lawyers, journalists, human rights campaigners, even just ordinary people. When Bashar al-Assad succeeded his father, there were glimmers of hope that there might be some reform. However, spooked by the mobilization of Syrian political and civil society, Bashar al-Assad cracked down with a ferocity that resulted in a rule that was even more despotic than his father's.
For the past 5 decades, Syria has been ruled by oppressive leaders, and one of their key strategies has been to keep people in the dark, to withhold information that's vital to them.
وأكد الرئيس الأسد أن المعارك التي يخوضها جيشنا البطل في مواجهة المجموعات الإرهابية هي التي تصنع التاريخ.
Syrian state TV would constantly parrot regime propaganda, and that would get distributed on social media or even messaging apps.
When the Arab uprisings of 2010 and 11 spread like wildfire in the region, Syrians staged some of the most impassioned demonstrations. The pushback from the regime was brutal, and the country descended into a bitter civil war. Information warfare was rampant, made worse by the involvement of numerous foreign players: Iran, Russia, the United States and its allies, Turkey, and various Arab nations. Cut to 2024, and having consolidated their rule in northwest Syria, a group of rebel factions, led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and their commander-in-chief Ahmad al-Shara, mounted a putsch that moved at incredible speed and led to Bashar al-Assad's rule disintegrating in December. Since then, the country has been in a state of heightened emotion, exhilaration, trepidation, relief, anxiety, and confusion. Information is flowing like never before, and much of it is unreliable. It's kept Ahmad Primo, the founder of a group called Verify Syria, incredibly busy.
There are numerous misinformation campaigns that took off after the fall of the Syrian regime. One campaign, for instance, portrays Syria as having deteriorated so much that things were actually better during Bashar al-Assad's rule. Other campaigns target minorities in Syria, spreading false information that Alawite Muslims are being targeted and killed solely because they are Alawites, or that Christian churches are being burnt down solely because they follow a religion other than Islam. There are also campaigns aimed at the majority Sunni population, saying that the new leader, Ahmad al-Shara, has pardoned all those who participated in killing Sunnis, including senior members of the Assad regime.
For me, as Syrian today, I ask myself, whose survival depends on prolonging the conflict, whose survival depends on prolonging the war. And the answer here is, first you have the Syrian government officials who are terrified of an accountability process. And then you have the businessmen and the warlords who have benefited financially from this conflict. People tend to not only believe, but to circulate information that aligns with their pre-existing anxieties and fears.
One of those fears has been how transitional President Ahmad al-Shara and the HTS, which is leading the current government in Syria, will deal with the country's many minorities. Decades of sectarian suspicion, much of it fed by the Assad regime and its operatives, informs these concerns. Also, the history of the HTS, which is largely Sunni and was born out of a group created by the Islamic State in the Levant, ISIL, carries its own baggage. In the days after the fall of Assad, a video zipped around the country. It showed the burning of an Alawite shrine by HTS fighters. The video was months old, but it was being shared as if the incident had just occurred. It sent tremors through the country.
What was really interesting about the example of the shrine is that the incident was taken out of context. And again, we've seen lots of this happen recently. A lot of these examples are being resurfaced from the past and being attributed to HTS or other smaller groups in Syria. It became so prolific that the new Ministry of Interior felt the need to put out a statement and ensure that they clarified it.
The video of the attack on the shrine inflamed sectarian tensions in Syria. As it spread online, we saw many protests take place. We saw Alawites take up arms, and other sects, particularly Sunnis, did the same in an attempt to confront and suppress them. This kind of chaos seemed to have been the aim behind sharing this video.
Verify Syria was amongst the first outlets to fact-check the burning shrine video. The group is one of the most active and credible sources of information on the country. They get their funding from American and European sources, both governmental and corporate. They named their key donors and sponsors when we asked and said they will be publishing the list on their website soon. Not all the outlets claiming to be reliable sources for Syrian news are in the same league as Verify Syria.
So I became aware of the Syrian Minority Observatory as I was trying to work on a story regarding incidents that I was hearing, like looting and thefts and killing and kidnapping. So I reached out to them to just try to verify some of the videos that were being circulated. They could not verify the locations and the dates. And then one of the videos that they shared, they claimed it was from Jable, which is my hometown, but it was actually from Idlib. So I reached out to the guy and told him, listen, this video, it's not from the coast, it's from Idlib. He told me that I am supporting the genocide against the Alawites. After I pushed back against them, they started to use very sexual language. They threatened me with rape.
Now, what's concerning particularly about this group is it seems that they are being led by Syrians who might not be inside the country. So again, it's people who have either fled because of the current change in administration or fled because of the Syrian war, and maybe they themselves are experiencing information from second or third-hand sources, at which point some of that information may become distorted or misleading. They have consistently posted more graphic and prolific posts, much of which has turned out to be misinformation and disinformation as well.
Syria is one of the most complicated places on the planet right now. Navigating it is hard. There are malicious actors out to create trouble. There is the confusion inherent in this moment, which turns rumor into news into consequences very fast. And there are even journalists who can do serious damage. Amidst the rush of foreign media that flooded into Syria in December was CNN and its chief international correspondent, Clarissa Ward. The story of Assad's prisons was of global interest, and Ward filed a report claiming to have witnessed the freeing of a detainee. The implication was that he was a prisoner of conscience.
Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
He clutches my arm tightly with both hands.
Within hours of going out, the report was getting panned. What people were seeing didn't feel like journalism. Verify Syria ran the report through its fact-checking process and revealed that the star character in Ward's piece was a former intelligence official who worked with the Assad regime.
With that CNN report, it was very clear there was something wrong with it. We at Verify watched it, first and foremost as Syrians, and secondly as fact-checkers. We analyzed the video, and by analyze, I mean we watched it frame by frame. We sent out the link to the report, along with key questions to our colleagues in Syria. We wanted to know who this person is, why they were arrested, where the video was taken, and what prison is this. All we did was ask additional questions. Is Clarissa Ward someone who has just started out in journalism? No, she's covered many wars. Has Clarissa Ward or CNN had any prior incidents where there's been a sense that there's been a bit of a setup? I will not answer these questions. I'll let the audience answer that. CNN should have admitted they were wrong, admit that they contributed to misleading the audience and people at large.
Syria today is such a trending topic, and everyone wants to write on Syria, on jails, on the country, on the minorities. I would really hope that journalists, before they publish anything, to truly go through a fact-checking process and understand that there is a lot of disinformation happening within the country, and the future of Syria will depend and will be shaped by the information we choose to believe and choose to repeat.
Thank you for watching. Hit that like button and leave us a comment to let us know what you thought about anything we covered this week. And don't forget to follow us on social media. The links are in the description, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter for updates from the show.